Excellent. We are on. Hello. Welcome back.
Hello, everyone.
Good to see you all in this I'm in my play
In your brain?
pretend
Yeah.
universe.
Instead of
I
just
think
seeing
I've said
each
this before.
other, we
I
see everyone. Yeah.
I see people all the time in my imagination cuz as an only child, that's who I played with as a kid. You may not be able to relate, Julie, but I have a lot of friends in my mind, in my
Oh, God.
universe.
All of our listeners, viewers, everyone out there, you're just imagining. Love it.
I used to deliver talks as a kid to a group of imaginary animals. Like I would be like, monkey today and the lion. Like I would actually talk to them and give them work to do because I always want to be a teacher when I was a kid. So I would do like a lecture and a talk. Then my mom would walk in and she's like, who are you talking to? Like my friends. Don't you see them? She's like, nope, weirdo.
I used to do that, but I would have like beanie babies or
Oh,
like
yeah.
stuffed animals, like actual people there. But I can't imagine just
Yeah.
walking in and just hearing like no one, literally no one around.
Did you make your brother play with you?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
all
make
the
him
time,
sit there? Yeah, okay,
all the
yeah, I can
time.
see that.
I was like, "The option is Barbies or nothing." And he was like, "I guess Barbies." I
Such a
feel so
bully.
bad, I feel so bad.
Such a bully.
I was
So maybe
not
that's why you
collaborative. I was not like, "What do you wanna
No,
play? Let's do it together."
but
I
maybe
had
that's why he's
older
such a good
child syndrome.
husband.
So I helped, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes. Your sister-in-law should be very grateful for you.
That actually is a good segue to our topic today. Maybe these are the signs that you need to look out for when you're,
Oh.
like, picking the partner, right?
Well, the question is, can you future-proof your relationship?
I don't think you could ever predict 100% what will happen in life, but you definitely can at least set yourself up for success by picking a partner
Mm.
who at least has the potential to withstand the time with you.
Yeah, true. When you prioritize long-term compatibility over like instant chemistry or the butterflies, then you don't settle for breadcrumbs of relationships or situationships. You actually know what you're looking for the long term.
I like that this is a trend, though. It's the most positive dating term we have seen in years.
Ah, finally. Finally, a dating trend that we can get behind. No more roaching or ghosting or breadcrumbing or whatever the stupid words that we've come up with. I'm all about future proofing. Let's go. Let's dive into this.
And I've been seeing future proofing like around a lot recently. And there was actually an article that came out recently that was in Forbes that was the three
Mhm.
reasons why future proofing is the healthiest dating trend of 2025 by a psychologist. And the author is Mark Travers. So I assume he is the psychologist he is referring to. He
Hopefully.
has the credentials, all of that. But it was interesting because, like, this has been on our list of topics, and then this article literally popped up, and it's a sign. It's a sign we talk about it.
Yeah, design. And how do we used to go about relationships? When you read about new trend, you always think about what was the old way of doing it. And I think when I look at my earlier dating, I definitely dated for the now, for
Mm,
this person, like the fun that we could have, the chemistry we could have, or the story, the meet cute. Or I would date for the potential, not the
yeah.
future, but the potential of someone based on who they are today. And it was never I never looked at long-term compatibility. Could this person be a good partner for me? Could we go through hard times
Yeah.
together? Wasn't a question that popped in my head till probably late 30s.
I agree. And future proofing, for anyone that hasn't heard the term yet, a newly packaged dating term that focuses on the values one would typically view as old fashioned: long term compatibility, shared values, a shared vision for your life together, shared goals for your future, and most importantly, choosing emotional security over doomed to fail situationships. And this
Yeah.
plays to like what you were talking about, is that chemistry really just lasts for the first couple dates, and emotional maturity, consistency, shared values, that's what sustains you.
But it's nothing new, right? It's
No.
not like all of a sudden this is like some Mr. Mark Taver. This is not like a new concept, but we are going back to old-fashioned values. I think that's what he calls it in this article, which is like, let's talk about the things that matter in a
Mhm.
relationship. Let's talk about what if their career changes? What if there are some major life changes? How are we going to navigate conflict? How are we going to navigate major challenges in our relationship versus like what kind of music do you like? How do you want,
Right.
how what's the next trip we should take? I think that is all obviously very important, having the fun and the chemistry, yes, but if we're looking for someone for the long term, can we start having some of these more rich conversations early on?
And we talk about this a ton in our book, How to Be Dateable. We have a whole section around like we're getting compatibility all wrong. Like we're judging it off of instances of happenstance, like we both like tennis or we both are from the East Coast, opposed to like what are our core values. And I'm glad that this is making a more widespread trend as well. I'd love to think our book had some input into that as too, because I think it gets to the root of like conscious dating, of like really
Yes.
being conscious and not just falling into stuff and going with like, oh, we had a great first date or we bonded over travel. We can do life together. It's like, okay, let's
Yeah.
actually
No.
look at what's happening and have those conversations and not just view everything through a date lens of like all fun and games, because the reality is that's not life. Like life is hard and you want someone that can sustain the hard.
Okay, let's expand on that a little bit though, the date lens. I think this is
Yeah.
fascinating to see. In this article, they point to this Bumble 2025 dating trends report, and it indicates that 95% of singles claim that their future concerns like finances, job security, housing are shaping their dating behavior and choice of partners. Well, duh. This is up. Of course, like I'm like, this is not mind-blowing at all. Thanks, Bumble, for telling us the obvious. 90 of course 95% of people are going to report that's important to them. But the question is, are you actually executing on
Right.
this? Is this
Right.
part of the intentionality behind how you're dating? That's a report I like to see. What you think, what you want, and then what are you actually doing on a date?
I agree. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, with future proofing, like I said earlier, like you can set yourself up for success by like, knowing what it is that's important, actually staying
Mhm.
with that and not just getting like swept away in chemistry or the good on paper or what someone like says but doesn't do. And then there's,
Mhm.
like, the other side of it, though, of, like, are people actually, taking the steps to get out of their own way with the habits that, like, pull them
Yeah.
into the wrong people?
Yeah. Great example. I know someone who started dating this guy and found out that he lived in this really fancy house, okay? So she's, like, swept up with her dating lens, like, "We're gonna have so much fun, and he has this beautiful house, and maybe eventually I'll move into this house," when she's looking for a partner that she can have a future with. After a few months of dating, she never questioned how this house is financed, how
Mm,
he got this house, etcetera. Okay, it's just things you don't think about because you're like, "I'm swept up in this story." Turns out he is renting this house with money he does not have, all just to show that he has this lifestyle. In fact,
yeah,
he is so in debt that he can't even pay for his car, so he doesn't even have a car. It just stuff like that. I'm not talking about this is not a money situation, it's just that we get so swept up in the romance of things, we don't ask the questions that matter if you were in a relationship. Like, "Oh, I wanna know how are you able to finance a house?" Or, "How are you
Yeah.
able to afford this lifestyle? I want to understand that." We feel so embarrassed to ask questions like that.
I guess that brings up a good point is like what criteria are we measuring with future proofing? Because if it's really like
Mm,
this study is saying, right? It's the future concerns around finance. It's a lot of it's financial, right? Finances,
finances,
job
yeah.
security, housing. I think there's a couple things here. It's like, first of all, to your point, you don't never really know someone's true financial
No,
situation. Even if they
no,
have a great job, it doesn't equate to, like, their money habits and spending and all that, and you could
no.
lose your job tomorrow. So
Yep.
it's a hard thing to, like, 100% be like, "Oh, well, I'm with this person that has this job, I'm set." That's not I
Yeah.
don't think that's realistic. The other side of it is I actually was out last night. I went to this wine bar and
Mhm.
overhear this girl next to me, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is so cringe." And they were talking about
Oh,
dating.
no.
It was like a group of people, and they were talking like this girl's like, "Well, I moved here from New York, and I will only date CEOs now." Like she had like this whole thing, and I'm just like, "Okay, like yeah, but, like, is that also like, again, if I'm sure
Ugh.
there's great CEOs that can be family oriented and all that, but, like, there's also a lot of CEOs that, like, their life is their work, and is that
Yes.
gonna future proof you to have a great relationship for the long haul? That's really only looking at, like, one lens of financial security, and that to me is not the
Yes.
whole picture.
That's so not the whole picture, and sadly, I think there are a lot of CEOs who make no money at all, and they struggle for years and years. That's just status, right? And
Right,
sometimes we chase status, and status gets us nowhere either. That's not going to get you through the hard times of a relationship. And beyond finances, this is something that's more, I guess, personal to me is as I get older, I have to think about my aging parents. And as an only
right.
child, these are conversations I need to have with my partner right now. Like maybe one day one of my parents will have to live with us. Are
Yeah.
we okay with that? What does that look like? And I don't want to have that conversation, but it is a necessary conversation.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part where the future proofing trend is like mixed to me. It's like, again, if we're talking about like stating terms, comparing it to roaching, it's a win. No one's
So
saying
much
it's not
better.
a win.
Yes.
But I'm not sure if you could just ask a series of questions when you first start dating
Yeah.
someone and expect to know like the whole life trajectory. Because maybe that wasn't even something like the example you just gave. Like that isn't something that was
Mhm.
like top of mind when like selecting a partner. It's like, how do
Mhm.
you, like, work through things with people? And, yes, there's questions, there's certain situations you can put yourself in, and all for doing all of that to be like, "Are we a team? Can we get through challenging times?"
Mhm.
That's great. Then there's also, like, evaluating based on, like, surface level metrics. Maybe
Mhm.
I get in some way, like, I think for people that are concerned about finances and job market, which is a thing right now, I get wanting to choose someone that may not wanna just, like, bum around and never get a job, but also
Mhm.
having compassion that, like, a lot of people are laid off right now, and that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that, like, that's their forever status. So, yes, maybe focusing on, like, is this person gonna be a good partner to me? Whether, like, financially we're not aligned and they pick up other stuff in our partnership, or,
Mhm.
like, financially we are aligned and, like, they have kind of a skill set that I know will, like, transcend, or they have, like, perseverance when times are hard to, like, get through it, like, more of the skills behind the job opposed to just, like, the resume.
I wanna know, do you have a plan and do you have a vision?
Right.
You right, like, you may not be at the top of your career right now, but maybe you are someone who has a plan and you have this vision for what the future could look like. I've dated plenty of people who had absolutely no vision for their life. They're like, the 2-year relationship I was in, he's like, "I'm
Yeah.
fine being a mid-level manager. I'm fine having a roommate for the rest of my life. I'm fine with my life it is today." And that could be great for someone, But if I were to future proof the person I wanna be with, that's not the person I wanna be with, because he's gonna be the exact same in the future.
So in this article, Mark Travers, the psychologist he references himself, he said there are three things you should look out for: consistency, stability, and alignment. And that
Mhm.
is a good way to like future proof and to evaluate. And I agree with a lot of these. I would argue that there's probably seven, but I'm pulling from the only seven things that matter in our book.
Right, yeah.
But I do like stability and alignment. Alignment's kind of within those. Stability, we don't necessarily call out 100%, but I think it's interesting
Mm-mm.
that he has these three. And he says that, like, when you're inconsistent, when they like when a partner has hot and cold behavior, or they break promises, or extreme
Mhm.
personality changes, like that, is something that wreaks havoc later on. And I've definitely seen this before, of like, those partners that are really like alluring in public, and then you find out like in private they're like totally different people. I think
Yeah.
that's that roller coaster of just like, one week everyone's happy, the next we're not, like that's not going to sustain a relationship. And I like this
No.
metric. I mean, we're clearly huge proponents of consistency. It's the number one in our list as well. And I think this is an important part of future proofing, because without consistency, you can't really get through anything else.
Yeah, you really can't. And consistency comes with a commitment to the relationship too.
Yeah.
So this is where I hear people saying like, "Well, I'm dating someone who's not exactly the same as me. How do I get that alignment? How do I find that stability in our relationship?" And I think it comes from two people working to build something new or something that works for them. Like my partner and I have very different spending habits. And I could have easily in the beginning said, okay, we're not aligned on our finances. But we are now at a point where we've built a third entity of how we look at finances. It's not how I used to think of
Yeah.
it. It's not how he used to think of it. But at least we were committed to finding this third path. We were consistent in the way that we behaved towards this path, and we're aligned on what this future could look like. But it took a lot of communication and that commitment to get to this third path.
So here's the thing though, with this future proofing part, is I feel like none
Mhm.
of this is really future proofed. Like none of this is like
No,
what
no.
works today. And I'm not saying this just on like what you just said as the example, but like every couple is
Yeah.
going to have, some way of looking at finances together, or some way of operating. And it could work today, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean for sure it's not going to work in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And that's why I
Yes.
think, like, future proofing isn't, like, ever 100%, and that's why I don't know if I love the word future proofing. I like conscious dating better, because it's, like,
Yeah.
what you can control in the moment, where future proofing feels like, "Oh, well, I'm asking all these questions, I'm making all these plans now. I'm,
Yes.
like, guaranteed for the future, we'll be good, we'll never get divorced, and we'll be together forever." And I just don't know if you can really realistically make that promise to anyone.
You can't because 'cause you're also changing. That, like, the way you view life and the world is changing. You can't even future proof yourself. I do think where the future proofing is, how are you having these conversations? And what
Yes,
I do like about
agreed.
the article is he heavily promotes having these conversations early. It's not the answer that matters.
Yeah.
It's like it's about the other person being open to what you're
Yes.
presenting and then being collaborative, and let's have a discussion about it even if we don't have no idea what the future brings. You need someone who's willing to come along for the ride and to mold these different paths as you come upon these challenges and changes. Not you also don't want someone, to what you're saying Julie, who's like, I have this one vision and one vision
Right.
only and we can't deterred in any other direction. Like this is we just have to do this one thing. That's not future proofing either, because that's a very static way of doing
That's
it.
why I think the 7, because the 7 touches on more,
Yes.
right? But I do think that you're onto something. It's the skill, right, that you're building. That's what's future proofing. I think of this actually
Mhm.
like like college, right? you actually aren't using 99.9% of the information you learned in college
You
ever,
really aren't.
ever. But what it taught you was how to, apply yourself, to
Mhm.
have a work ethic, to, study, to learn, to be eager, to be curious. Like it taught you all the skills that will help you in your career and other parts in life. It's not saying like, oh, I'm going to use this calculus equation in my job that has 0 to do with calculus. But, like, I
Yeah.
learned from studying for that calculus exam, how do I, like, learn something that maybe is unfamiliar to me and apply that? So I agree the skill is where it really is to future proof.
And if we were to really go deep on this, maybe there are some parallels between college and dating. If I had set my intentions right for college, I think I would have come out a much happier person. I went into college thinking, "Oh, these are just the steps I need to do in order to get a job and to contribute to society." I just thought it was a way to that's what people did. I never had that conscious intention of being like, "Oh, I'm here to learn about myself and critical
Yeah.
thinking and to learn relational skills." Same with dating. I
Yeah.
think people sometimes date because they're like, "This is what you gotta do if you wanna get in a relationship." But what if we all stepped back and said, "The intention of dating is to learn about myself, to learn about critical thinking, to learn my relational skills, which may lead to a relationship." But that's not actually the point. The point is to future proof yourself in this
Yeah.
experience so that you are able to participate in society and like as a really great person.
Yeah. I do wanna call out what, Mark talks about in this article around, stability, because I think this is interesting. Because I think when I
Mhm.
initially saw stability, I think financial stability. And he's
Yeah.
actually not saying that. He's saying a stable partner does not equate to the perfect partner who has everything figured out or who has all the answers. Rather, it refers to someone who shows integrity of character and has the emotional resources needed to deal with failure without falling apart.
Uh-huh.
And
That's what that's what we're
yeah,
talking about, right? The skill set.
right. It's like to navigate life. And I think
Mhm.
that's the piece. But that being said, okay, speaking for someone that maybe is going through a little lately, it's like sometimes you do fall apart, and that's like human a little. And like, yes, you can pick
Yeah.
yourself back up, but like, is that really like future proofing to like never expect like anything bad to happen? And like, or if it does, like to immediately get up. I don't know if that's like realistic also in like relationship and in life. Like, I think some of it is like, I know eventually this person will, like, get it together and it won't be like this forever, but, like, give them a little grace too.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that stability really is your partner there for you? Are they able to support you through life's challenges? And that's part of why we wanna be in relationships, right? Because you are
Right.
stronger as 2 people, and that's where to me, that's where the stability comes from.
Yeah, yeah. And then when he was talking about alignment, it was a lot about, like, having similarities, and the
Yeah.
thought was that there's so much friction in all these, like, small decisions that couples make over a lifetime. So, like, if you have kind of that alignment, that makes all those decisions so much easier. But I think,
Mhm.
like, I don't know, I agree, like, there has to be some similarity of, like, what you're looking for out of life, the direction you wanna go, what's important to you, your values, but I'm not sure we always have to have similarity in the way we approach. Sometimes it's actually better to
No.
have different approaches and mindsets.
100%. And we've been preaching this for a while. It's not about the similarities, it's about how you navigate your differences. And they've done studies where when you date someone who's too similar to you, you are on autopilot and you
Yeah,
stop learning about your partner because you have a default setting that you know everything about them. So I'd much rather date someone who has it's not about similarities, but can and will navigate these differences with me.
So I guess my final take after going into this more is like, no, you cannot future proof your relationship. You can consciously date to set yourself up to find someone that you can build these skills with, but it doesn't always even predict like 100%, like will like things change and we won't be able to get through things. In a way, love is taking a leap. You can decide how much of a calculated risk you want to take, though. I think when you go for someone that's like wildly inappropriate or that's not giving you
Yeah,
like basic consistency, stability, and alignment from day one, then yes, it's an uphill battle. So I like it in that sense of like, okay, if someone's, like, telling me I can't commit to a relationship, yeah, get rid of them. But, like, we can't think that,
yeah,
like, asking a series of questions is gonna protect us forever either.
yeah, agreed. I don't think you can future-proof a relationship because you can't control someone else's behavior. You can't control someone else's life. You have no control over what they do,
You
but
can't
you can
control your own
future-proof yourself.
future. Like, you
Yeah, you
can't,
can't
like
control your own future. Yes,
yeah, like, you could
but you can
future pr
future
yeah. Sorry. We're, like,
sorry,
both very
like,
heated.
"Ah!"
You go first.
I think you can future-proof yourself in that you can navigate anything in life if you start developing these relational skills and resilience and perseverance, all of these skills that you learn in dating. That's how you future-proof yourself, but you cannot future-proof to an outcome, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
No, I agree. Awesome. What do you think? Do you think you could future
Yeah.
proof a relationship? Are you bought into this term, this trend? Is it just another way to say intentional dating and conscious dating and all the stuff we've been saying? Or are we just ahead of the curve and now everyone else is catching up?
Yeah. Copycats. Mark.
I think honestly, though, it's good. If we're ahead of the
It
curve,
is.
if you've been listening to Dateable for a while and you're here with us, that means you're ahead of it. But the more widespread, when this stuff goes to trends, that means that the dating pool is only going to get better. So I'm all for that.
Yes. Me too. Let's do it. I don't want any more roaching. I never want to see that word ever
Nope.
again.
I like that we're making
It's
a shift to positive dating terms.
yes. 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 Progress, people.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Cool.
great
Thanks for joining the
convo.
conversation.
Make sure to get How to Be Dateable if you want to continue to date consciously. I won't use future proof, but future proof yourself. We'll use that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
See you all next week.
Bye.